guys, it is April from Getting Hookah With It. Today I'm here to share with you my February favorites, so let's get into it. I have not done a favorites video in a while, and I felt like it was high time that we chat about some of the things that are bringing me a lot of joy. We've got a little bit of house stuff, self-care, a book thing, movies, the whole thing. So we'll just dive right in. I do want to mention, if you like this video, please hit the like button. It really supports my channel, and subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, let's dive in. Around the house, I've only got one thing, but I have to say, I feel like this could be a favorite every year at around this time. I have been loving spring flowers. I live in Ottawa and it's very snowy. Like, winter lasts a long time. And right around this time, it feels like it's never gonna go away. The only thing that gives me hope are spring flowers at the grocery store. So I recently bought some bright orange tulips and they are just everything. They are so wonderful to have around the house, and I have them right on my island, and that's basically where I spend most of my day, is like downstairs in the living room, and the island is right there. The tulips are front and center and they're just bringing me so much joy. And you know, I feel like my motto for February and March are just buy the dang flowers. Just buy them. You won't regret it. Yeah, so random favorite, but it really is a favorite. Another thing that actually helps me get through February, which is the hardest month I would say, are the Oscars. So I have this tradition with my dad and Barry. And we started it before Barry even existed in my life, where we try to watch all of the Oscar nominated movies, and then we get together, watch the Oscars, have a scoring system. There is always a winner. Every single year, my dad has won. Every single year. And this year, guess who won? I won. I did it. And it was wonderful. So I have been, you know, sending my dad and Barry videos of me talking to my Oscar statue. We've also got a Hugh Jackman poster that like is framed, and everyone gets a chance to have it at their house if they have won that year. So we have that downstairs in the basement, and it's just a lot of fun. I really love that tradition. And so I did want to talk to you about some movies that I have been watching in February in particular. I watched a ton before then that were Oscar nominated, but in February I watched quite a few, and I wanted to share some of my very favorites with you. The first is JoJo Rabbit. Now, I watched the Oscars before I got to watch JoJo Rabbit, and I was devastated when Greta Gerwig didn't win Best Original, or Best Adapted Screenplay, I should say, for Little Women. I thought she's not nominated for Best Director, which she should have been, so I thought she was gonna win that, and she didn't. And the guy who wrote JoJo Rabbit won instead. And I was devastated. And then I watched JoJo Rabbit and I went, oh, okay, I actually get why he won. It is hilarious. This is about a little boy in Nazi Germany who is in like those children's groups that are, I can't remember what they were called, but if you were a Nazi and you were a child, you were thrown into these children's groups. And anyway, he has an imaginary friend, and the imaginary friend is Hitler. And it sounds like such a terrible idea in so many ways, and like uncomfortable, but it's written in such a way that's hilarious. Meanwhile, his mom has hidden away a Jewish girl in their home, and JoJo discovers this girl, and it's this dilemma in his mind about what's right and wrong, and oh, so funny. It was one of the funniest movies I've seen in a long time. I loved it. Like, I really would like to own that one, actually. I also watched Parasite, which basically took the Oscars by storm. They won for Best International Film, Best Director, Best Picture. Like, they won an insane amount of awards, and it absolutely deserved it. This is a Korean film, and it follows a family that start working for a very wealthy family to teach and help with the children. And slowly but surely, all of the people in this family end up working for this very wealthy family. And it's very much about the class issues in Korea, and well, everywhere. It's a bit of a mystery as well. It's a thriller, and for the first, I don't know how long, like maybe an hour, the first hour, 45 minutes of the movie, I was like, no, this is a comedy, and like, this is not a thriller. And then as you go on, you're like, it really becomes a thriller, and it's fantastic. Gorgeously written, shocking, fascinating. The acting was superb. I'm very surprised that none of the actors were up for awards. I don't understand that, because they really were very good, and often better than some of the people who are up for acting awards. So I'll just say that. Although I was thrilled that Brad Pitt won Best Actor. I was so happy. He was fantastic. Anyway, we're not talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but that was very good. Next, I want to talk about Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I watched this again after the Oscars, but it was beautiful. And Tom Hanks is just a legend. He is a legend, and he got into that character of Mr. Rogers so much. He was really outstanding. And we basically follow a man who interviewed Mr. Rogers, and this man has had a very terrible relationship with his father. He's just recently become a father himself, and he interviews Mr. Rogers, and it's about how Mr. Rogers actually helps him through all of the drama and issues in his life. And there's one scene where Mr. Rogers and this journalist are sitting down at a diner, and Mr. Rogers says, you know, I do this thing. I can't remember if it's every night or how often he does this mental exercise where he thinks about all of the people in his life that have loved him into being. And he asks this man to do that. And then at one point, Mr. Rogers looks at the camera. It's the only time that this happens. And then you start doing that. Like, if you actually sit and think about all of the people in your life that have loved you into being, it is an amazing exercise, and I'm going to start doing it. It like made me start getting very emotional, and it was such a glorious movie. I just loved that movie so much. If you haven't watched it, I so highly recommend that you do. What a wonderful man. I'm so glad that Mr. Rogers existed. I didn't watch him quite enough as a child. I should watch more. Last is a Netflix miniseries. Nothing to do with the Oscars at all anymore. We're moving on. It's a documentary series. Are they called docu-series? I think so. It's called Babies. And it is about the science of that first year of life. Absolutely fascinating. It is about breastfeeding and the nourishment that babies need, and it is about crawling and movement. It's about sleep. It covers all of the aspects. Language, how they learn language. It is fascinating what they go through in that year, and it was also helpful for me as a mother to know like what things I can do to help my child. I loved it. Whether you have already had babies or are about to have a baby or not. It's really, really interesting to learn even about ourselves, really, because we were babies once upon a time. And it's just fascinating. I loved so many female scientists getting into this. It was really, really fantastic. Okay, so now for mama favorites, I've got a couple that I wanted to share. The first is a book that my Uncle Dennis got Nora for Christmas, and it's called The Very Cranky Bear, and we read this nearly every night. We always finish with Good Night Moon, but I tend to reach for this one a lot as well. And this is about a group of animals who are going to play cards in a cave, and then a very cranky bear shows up who is trying to sleep in the cave, and they're all trying to figure out ways to make him less cranky so that they can stick around. And it rhymes, and it's just a really fun one as I do all of the characters and all of the voices for all of the characters. It's a really great book. I actually want to see if Nick Bland has written anything else because I loved it that much. So there's that. Nora is also loving her skip hop activity center. She's really loving standing, jumping, all of those things, and she loves this thing so much. My parents ended up getting her this for Christmas, and they asked me which kind I'd like, and this was the one that was less like visually offensive. Some kids' toys are like really overwhelming, and I am someone like my entire house is basically just neutral everything. Oh my god, I just had the world's worst coughing fit. I don't know what happened. Anyway, oh man, I think I was saying that my house is very neutral. So I didn't want anything that was like overwhelming. So this is nice. It's like got a bit of pastel colors to it. It's got this piano thing that lights up and plays different songs, and she's just recently discovered how that works. And she basically turns around and plays with all of the toys, and she loves it so much. Sometimes she'll just sit in there and just talk. It is adorable. Probably my most favorite mama thing is that Nora is sleeping through the night. She is sleeping through the night, and it is fantastic. She goes down between 7:30 and 8, and she doesn't always go down without crying a little bit, but once she's down until like usually around 6 the next morning, which is a good chunk of sleep. So it means that I kind of have my nights back to read or watch TV or hang out with Barry, and it's just made a big difference. So now I've got a couple of beauty things. The first are two things by The Ordinary, and they're both hylaronic acid. I use the marine hylaronics, which is very light. It's very watery. I don't know if you can see, but it's like incredibly watery. So I use this during the day because I don't feel like it pills or anything like that. It just soaks right into the skin. So I use this and then use a moisturizer on top during the day. But at night I want a bit more hydration. So this is the hylaronic acid 2% plus B5. This is much more goopy. I don't know if you can see, but it's like quite a bit more goopy. And it's also really nice. It kind of leaves this film on your skin, which is why I don't like it during the day in any way, shape, or form. But at night, it like really helps my skin. And basically these two things, it's just hyaluronic. It plumps up your skin, gives it the hydration that you need. And like at this time of year, I get really dry and dehydrated, so it helps. Now, the other thing that I get at this time of year is major pimples a lot of the time. And I had forgotten that once upon a time, this La Roche-Posay Effaclar Duo really helps me out. So basically, I use this as a lotion during the day and at night. And it's fantastic. Like, it has cleared up my skin majorly. Now, I still have like breakouts at that time of the month because I can't help that. But it's really helped to attack any other acne that's going to happen. Like, this really takes care of it. And then of course I need to talk books. I'll end with books. And it's really the Nikki French series. I'm reading the Frieda Klein series, I should say, by Nikki French. And this follows a psychotherapist named Frieda Klein. And she gets involved with all of these police cases. I'm waiting for Wednesday now, and it's really, really good. And yeah, Frieda is the type of person who, I think, like Eleanor Oliphant in Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. She's got a past that I don't think is very good, and you are slowly unraveling what the past is. And she opens up to one friend, Sasha in particular, and her love interest, Sandy. And she slowly opens up to them, and we kind of learn about it that way. And I love Frieda. She's fantastic, and she helps so many people. She's very selfless with her family, and I adore her. So yeah, I've been loving this series so much. I highly recommend. It's a mystery series. It's not a thriller series. That said, the mysteries themselves can be quite gruesome. Some of the cases, like this case, this case in particular follows a case in which this mother was brutally murdered in her own home, and it was a very violent death, and you discover that she had the secret life, and that's right on the back. I'm not spoiling anything, but I will say that, like, it still has some gruesomeness, but not overly. Like, of all of the thrillers that I've talked about, like, this is not like insanely overwhelming. It's not like Karen Slaughter or anything like that, but I did want to mention in case you're a little squeamish. You might want to skip a few pages sometimes reading this, but it's so good. I'm sorry for my coughing fit and like what it's reduced me to since then. Oh, that really kicked my butt. But I wanted to share my February favorites with you. I hope that you guys are doing well. Let me know in the comments below what your favorites have been this month. I'd love to know. Also, in the description box below, I've started putting things in there like my Amazon wish list, my GOODREADS page, my Instagram page. So go and check me out on these different platforms. I love to hang out with you in all of the places. And I will talk with you soon. Bye!